Don't you just love sudden DM decisions?
Well, DM just said Larry gets it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But like, apparently if everything is already whatever the case might be, I'm staying out of this. No point in venting the atmosphere if there's no atmosphere to vent. Dadgummit.
Precisely. Because me and Monkey were talking about that too. And I was like, no, he said there was no atmosphere. And that's when he asked the question.
Hmm.
It's like, there is no atmosphere to vent.
Sometimes don't ask that question. Just do it. Put it in OCs. Put it in character. Don't ask questions, and then make the DM work with it.
Hey, I've put a lot of things in the thing as character, just waiting for Mumbles to tell me that I needed to roll for it, and he never did. So it's like, okay, that just happens then.
Oh, all right. Yeah, I'm think I'm coming to that point where I'm just gonna stop asking about rolls. I'm just gonna say I do this, and if he wants a roll, he'll let me know. And if he doesn't get it there fast enough, we will progress past that point and just move on with our day. In fact, we're totally not plotting against the DM. Like
never.
Players always plot against the DM. Always. But it's just a matter of whether they are doing it publicly and intentionally. Like, there's one thing to be like, oh, let's do this because it messes with the DM. There's nothing like, hey, let's do this because it messes with the DM. Well, lots of things happened this week.
Lots of things. We have a lot of things to talk about this week.
Too many!
Too many?
Yes. I don't know how you think this is a good idea to try and talk an entire second half of the first season of Earth to Ned. Just be like, oh yeah, it's fine.
First of all, we could have done that last week had you been caught up.
Not the point.
So,
okay, here's the thing. 10 episodes. Every single episode of Earth to Ned was fantastic.
It was. It really was.
Like, Earth to Ned is probably the third best thing to come out of Disney Plus so far. Number 1 is The Mandalorian. Number 2 is Clone Wars Season 7. And number 3 is Earth to Ned.
Yes. So, we learned this week that Earth to Ned is not a Muppet.
Disagree.
They are classified by the Jim Henson Corporation as creatures because they use animatronics.
Okay, that's fair. But the Clydes are Muppets.
Probably. I don't see anything about them that wouldn't be.
Clydes are awesome.
How about that season finale, though?
I wanted to see his dad. I felt like we got a little robbed.
I know, right? Dad, we are staying here. We are not destroying the Earth. Spoilers.
He's like, surprise. Son, are you coming out, or am I drilling through the Earth's crust to come get you? It is such a good show. And it's such a low budget show, really. I mean, aside from the cost of
the set and the creatures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, although I think that they are doing it a great disservice. I think the show deserves better. Because they did just drop the entire season. I mean, technically, I'm calling it the second season. Screw them and their naming convention. I don't care.
Like I said, COVID probably had a lot to do with that.
I don't care. You can, they were probably trying to make it so that they weren't competing with WandaVision, so they just dropped the whole thing last week. Like, we probably got a subpar Earth to Ned release because they wanted people to watch WandaVision. Which, if you hadn't already picked up on that, I like considerably less than I like Earth to Ned so far.
Yeah.
Like,
both of us.
Like,
I have an entire rant on Twitter about it.
We can get there in a second. Right now, I'm still on Earth to Ned because they did such a disservice to it. Like, he's one of... Like, every single one of his episodes, I think, could have just been like, release one a week and let us react to it. Release one a week, let us react to it. Release one a week, let us react to it. It's so good. It is the best talk show since Jay Leno left The Tonight Show. And I don't even know if you like Jay Leno or The Tonight Show, but like that was the
watched it, so.
That was the last like talk show that I enjoyed. I used to always watch Jay Leno, and then whatever his name is, Jimmy Fallon took over, and I didn't care. Didn't really like Letterman. Didn't like anybody who replaced him. Don't like Stephen Colbert or anybody else that's on TV right now. It's like Earth to Ned is like really, really good. It's intelligent. It's funny. It has a weird hook. I think there's been a couple guests who are like not the greatest, but I mean, guests are.
Yeah. So that's what I was about to say.
The guy from Glee was like terrible. Just why? He was so bad.
I like Penn and Teller.
They were awesome.
But I am so tired of seeing the cups and balls. It's like when you go on a talk show, do something different. Well, you do it every time you go on the talk show.
I know they do.
You're fantastic, but do something different.
Yeah, and then they do the American one where they like try to show it to you honestly, and they show you how they do it, and this, that, and the other. Like, yeah, I get it. But they're famous for taking a mundane joke like the cups and balls and doing it differently. Guys, apply yourselves. Do it differently. be like, and we do the cups and balls, we do this, and then we do the clear cups and balls. Like, add an extra wrinkle on there, like the end, and we do the baseball, and then something, just magic something up, and the baseball turns into a basketball or something that totally blows your mind. Like, how on earth did they do that?
Yeah.
Don't just tell me that you're going to lie to me. Actually lie to me. Like, I'm here for this. I love them. I love watching
Mayim was a great.
Oh yeah, Mayim was great. Again, there's so much in there's. How can we condense 10 episodes, 20 guests, whole bunch of different side sets and vignettes and Betty and like, how do you condense all that and be like, oh yeah, let's just react to all 10 episodes at once. That's gonna be great. I can't imagine why anyone would ever think that there would be anything more to it than what you could possibly just try and cram into like whatever, not that we have a limited time for segments, but I have a limited brain capacity to be able to recall all the cool stuff that happened. Funniest thing though was I think my favorite joke was that he was talking about weirdly enough his butt and the fact that he only has one buttock and it's just like a donut. I don't know why, but that just struck me as incredibly funny. I hear Master's typing.
Yes, I have to respond before somebody else does.
The lift. For those who are not aware, we have officially begun the second version, the second play-by-post campaign. Master's weaseled his way in there somehow. And the current post to be responded to is, the lift ascends with you all in it, quickly carrying you all to level 3. The doors slide open, revealing the security control room, its various workstations and monitors. That's when you see the two figures standing there in full Mandalorian armor. 3 red streaks down their helmets, the mark of the Mandalorian Imperial Commandos, their blasters trained at the door. Apparently, Z just droid pooped. Okay. That works.
Here.
I'll let you take this. The little man inside the droid speaks. They can't even see you right now. Wait a second. How does this make sense in the slightest? Like,
I don't know.
I don't know. All right. Are you gonna read your own post here, Masters?
Calling from inside. Oh, I'm not inside of XI. I'm inside of LAR9.
Yes. You've been making that mistake all day. I haven't corrected you because I thought it was funny.
Yeah. I'll go back and fix all of them later. Calling from inside LAR9 and also into the comms so that Mando can hear it. Greetings, Mandalorians. We have come here on behest of the Heskin Group to get some cargo that belongs to us. We too traveled with a Mandalorian. Maybe we can help one another.
Oh, you know what's happening? I don't remember what the mechanic is, but like the debt or whatever. What obligation. The obligation. Yes. This is Foxy's obligation happening right now. Watch Foxy be like the abdicated prince of Mandalore, and they're coming to collect him. That's a bad idea. Anyway, Earth to Ned. I am just so I am happy that it's out and I love it and it's fantastic, but I still feel cheated that we weren't given a proper release schedule. They were just like, boop, there you go, and then just off they went on their merry way. It feels dismissive.
It really does, because this is the greatest Muppet thing that we have gotten in a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it's not technically the Muppets.
Jim Henson. I will still. I think the Clods and Cornelius count. Cornelius, I don't think has hardly any animatronics at all. Maybe his eyes. But the Clods,
those could still be pull strings.
Yeah. But yeah,
I'm gonna stop reading. See, mark unread. Because it's gonna distract me.
Oh yeah.
The rest of the night.
I might mute this for an hour or two.
What?
So I might mute that for an hour or two. That's a whole other story. Earth to Ned is so good. I feel inadequate to express how much I enjoy Earth to Ned, and it's frustrating because expressing myself is something that's just like something that I do, and I want to have had the opportunity to really break down, and I guess I could go through and watch each one and react to it, and all this kind of stuff. But I mean, when you have something that is this good and is just, it's just fun, and not just that, but it's smart, it's intelligent. They really hit on some great themes. The food theme was great with the chef. Can't remember what his name is. He makes some mayo. Everything was just so well done, and
yeah, I have never seen yellow mayonnaise before. Of course, I've never seen it made fresh either. So.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing.
Chef Roy Cho.
Roy Choi. Kind of sounds like the what happens when you try to do the toy boat tongue twister.
The what?
Have you never heard of that tongue twister?
No.
Say the words toy boat 10 times as fast as you can.
Toy boat, 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 blah, 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 blah.
You're welcome.
Are you satisfied, Gabby?
I am. It's great. It's very difficult. Anyway, yeah, just like I want so much more. I will be very upset if we don't get more. And the thing is, because of the way they dropped it, their viewership might be lower. So they go, oh, I guess nobody really wants to see Nurse to Ned, and then they won't do a second season, and we'll never know what happens with his dad. And that just makes me sad. And also kind of mad.
Yeah, that would be depressing. For them to have all of this build up.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's like, because it's not just a talk show. There's a story that's being told as well.
Mm-hmm.
Which just raises it to another level.
I mean, technically, we might find out the conclusion. We just gotta wait to see if we live tomorrow.
I mean, you're not wrong. When we start getting news reports of flying saucers over
Chicago.
Chicago, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm just processing still. There's just a very enjoyable experience, and there haven't been a lot of those recently. I'm just like,
yeah, especially not yesterday, right?
what happened yesterday?
Exactly.
No, I think you're talking about Thursday. Oh, WandaVision. So, I get what they're doing.
Why would I be talking about Thursday?
Oh, because Thursday I had because my workday on Thursday began with a 4-hour catastrophe where the water was coming out of the faucet too quickly, and somehow this was my problem. And my proposed solution was absolutely unacceptable. Do you want to know what my proposed solution was, Masters?
Sure.
Don't turn the faucet on all the way.
That's a good one, actually. I would agree with that.
I was immediately shot down in the most forceful terms possible. And I'm like, but my water comes out too fast.
Why are you booing? He's right.
Like, just if it's coming out too fast, you just turn it on a little bit. No, we have to turn down the water pressure. That's a bad idea. That's a really bad idea, because that means that we will lose water on the 3rd floor, and we may not be able to flush the toilets on the 2nd floor. No, we have to turn the water pressure down. If you're going to do it, you're going to do it, and I'm having
the water pressure. You can turn the water pressure down on a single faucet.
Yeah, and we did come to that, but not me. I'm like, this is too stupid. I can't deal with you people. Sorry about that. My microphone was coming undone a little bit. Now it's not. Now it's back. But yeah, I could not believe what was happening. And it was like a major issue. The CEO was involved about our Masters. You're not doing a very, very, very good job of not being distracted.
Well, it pinged me directly, okay? And if I don't respond, one of the other idiots will. Like Foxy, he's responding right now.
How? He's not there. Oh, Lord. I mean, this is just a team up, but yeah. Okay, I'm going to allow my happiness and my frustration for Earth and Ed to subside for a minute. Let's talk WandaVision.
Why?
We have to.
But we just redirect them to my Twitter post?
Well, we can read your Twitter post. By the way, am I doing better on Twitter this week? Now that I deleted all
Yes, you are.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I basically just didn't go on Twitter.
The few times that I've seen you retweet something, I've actually responded.
Okay, it's still kind of hard because I'm still watching a whole bunch of really enjoying 3D printed guns. Totally unrelated. My printer came in this week.
Oh, sweet.
And
my trumpet came in today.
I did hear that. Of course, we're now going to get off of the present conversation about WandaVision. Nice try, though.
I also got some new smart light bulbs that came in today.
Mm-hmm.
So I put some of those in my bedroom and also over my kitchen table.
Those sound incredibly fun. I can't wait to talk about them later after we finish with WandaVision. So, Masters, what's going on with WandaVision?
Nothing good yet. There's potential, but like, why did they start it like this? Why? Why didn't we have some good episodes and then like flashback is a brilliant way for storytelling. We could have had whatever was going to happen and then flashback to these moments and then go back into these could have been flashbacks. Why are they not flashbacks?
I can tell you
this
why.
Is the
they're mixing two storytelling tropes together and they're throwing them at us.
And they're doing it poorly.
The number one that they're doing is probably the best example of it that I know of is like Soviet era like brainwashing, which strangely enough, best example of it that I'm familiar with is not actually a movie, but actually a video game, Call of Duty Black Ops, where they rewire GI's mind so that he basically creates an imaginary friend that helps him go around and kill Germans.
Yeah.
And so that's like what the little cuts are at the end, and the voices that come over the radio, and people who are trying to talk to her. And it's like, yeah, okay, I get you. And like, but as soon as you realize that's what's happening, and more importantly than that she is 100% behind her own mental issues. Like, straight up. She's 100% because she's clearly in control of everything that happens in that world. Even the possible issues and stuff that she's being faced with.
Yeah.
She's clearly in control of everything. And the other thing that they're trying to do is they're trying to make it like Pleasantville, which is a really weird movie from like the early 90s. It has Tobey Maguire and Kirsten Dunst, and these two people get zapped into a television set by Don Knotts. Like, actually Don Knotts. I mean, he's playing a TV repairman, but still. They get zapped into a television program by Don Knotts, and it's a black and white thing, and they start to introduce modern day sensibilities to a 1950s era sitcom, and like starts to show like the lives and stuff of people that wouldn't necessarily be shown on camera, away from the main family, kind of stuff like that. And the more they do this, the more the town becomes colorized, and that's kind of it becomes kind of like, the scarlet letter on these people, that they are adopting more modern mindsets as opposed from those of the 1950s.
Yeah.
Which the point being made in that film was like, oh, we've progressed so far as a society, which is, yeah, okay, I guess we have, but call me traditionalist, but I think that there was definitely a lot of benefit to some of the mentalities that were had back then, which apparently Miss Maximoff also thinks that is the case, because that is where she decided to set her own fantasical delusion. And then the thing is, I think what we saw at the end of the second episode, where she actually does colorize her world, is that she has refined a new layer of her own delusion, so that she now has a better grasp on what she actually wants. As opposed to we're just like, okay, well, I have this idyllic mindset of what life could be, and then she goes through a little bit further and she kind of understands it a little bit better, and so it colorizes, and she has a more crystallized version of what she's actually pushing for. Ultimately, though, I can almost 100%, 100%, she is in charge of this, she is the cause of it, that's where this is going. Slightly less confident, but I would be surprised if this goes anywhere else. I can see the conclusion that she reaches with this little thought experiment of hers to be that life is better without powers. And then she like morphs into like a sort of pseudo or sub villain for the next arc of Marvel films, as she tries to remove powers from existence, kind of like Baron Mordo is doing right now with, or he was proposed to be doing at the end of the Doctor Strange film. Masters.
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to process what you're saying.
Okay, so remember in Doctor Strange, at the end of it, Mordo shows up, and he is that Benjamin Bratt? I forget who the actor was who's playing the guy who connected um Doctor Strange with the place. the name of which escapes me at the moment. The place with the ancient one and all that kind of stuff. So he and that person was a sorcerer, but only a sorcerer to the extent that they were able to like use their legs and move around and walk and things like that. Baron Mordo shows up and removes that person's ability to be a sorcerer because his new goal in life is to remove all other sorcerers, probably other than himself. We haven't seen any sort of expansion on that. We probably won't up until Shang-Chi drops, which I think comes out before Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Whichever one of those comes out first, but I don't think we're going to see that in the Doctor Strange film. I just get the feeling like that one's going to be very different. That might be kind of a stretch. We might see Mephisto in that film. That's a big stretch, but we might see Mephisto pop up. But yeah, if Mordo is on this warpath to remove sorcerers, and then Wanda comes to the idea that the only way to actually have a happy and fulfilling life is to have a life without powers, then she's going to go on some sort of massive either killing spree or power sucking spree to remove all powers from existence, because that will be the thing that she ends up blaming for losing vision. Am I making any sense at all here, or am I just saying random words into a microphone?
You're saying random words into a microphone.
But do they make sense to you?
No, you keep losing me.
Where am I losing you?
Yes.
What are you distracted by that you're not listening? Let's start there.
Hey, how dare you call me out like that?
I don't know any other way to simplify this more, Masters. Okay, the short version. Wanda's crazy. Wanda is going to blame all her problems on having powers. End of the series, she's going to turn to the bad guy and try and take away all the powers from all the other people.
Okay.
Is that short enough for you?
Sure.
Does it make any sense to you?
I mean, maybe.
Do you have another idea?
No, I try not to think about WandaVision that much.
Well, I'm just saying that in terms of us, being a pseudo entertainment based podcast of thingamadoodle with weird conspiracy theories.
I thought we were just having a conversation, bro.
Yeah. I thought that too once.
Oh. Yeah, I
On that note, though, it's a lot easier to have a conversation when both parties are paying attention, dadgummit.
Sorry, sometimes you ramble and I just tune you out. Oh my goodness. But I don't know. I need to go back and rewatch episode 2 or actually watch episode 2, I guess I should say.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, it's definitely apparent that she is in control of her reality.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that she has sequestered her. Well, it's not necessarily, we don't know if she has sequestered herself there for a reason or if somebody else, the bad guy, has her and like has her and Vision locked up somewhere and she's created this reality to escape from reality. Um, because at the end of the first episode, it zooms out and there's a guy watching a TV of what they're doing. So somebody has tapped into her reality in some way, and guess it's going to be interesting to figure out what that's about.
I think
But
that
then
that is.
again,
Go ahead.
yeah,
I I, I think that that is probably best understood as being the technology that Tony Stark demonstrates in the beginning of Civil War, where it shows the memory that he has, and like somehow or another that is attached to her, just like show like what's going on inside her mind, because people on the outside are
yeah,
like, hmm,
yeah, I was agreeing with you.
yeah. So it's just like that. That's an easy one to be like, okay, this is what's happening, but the rest of it is a lot more complicated. Um, yeah, it's just it's hard to. Right now, it's a hard show to like. The first episode is almost entirely cringe.
But apparently, the internet disagrees with us.
You
So
know, they're allowed to disagree. Like I said, I understand that they're doing setup and they're doing world building
world build,
and yada yada yada, and those are very important things. And I don't even necessarily think that this would be a good flashback. I think that this is very ill suited for flashbacky type stuff because then it's like, hey, like 3/4 of the way into a series, hey Wanda, remember that time that you went crazy and locked yourself in a mine for 6 months? Oh yeah, flashback. That's not awkward at all.
well, it doesn't have to be a flashback for her. It could just be a flashback for us, like they did with Lost. So it's like, oh, here's the things that
Wait, wait, wait,
happened.
wait, wait,
Oh,
wait,
let's
wait, 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 wait. Are you actually using one of the most maligned endings to a series to try and prove your point on storytelling?
not the. I actually liked the ending.
There had
First
to
of
be
all,
one. Well, I guess there's two because JJ apparently liked it too. So the two of you.
yes, I liked the ending of Lost. Um, but before I'm talking about episode 1, season 1 of Lost, where they focus on what's happening in the now, and it's action, it's driving. There are lots of questions that aren't really being answered, but you're intrigued and you want to know more. And then they flash back to before the to the before times,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, okay, now we're getting a little bit of answer, but it's not really answering the questions I want to answer. I want to know more. Whereas you're watching WandaVision going, okay, I'm watching a 50s sitcom that stars Wanda and Vision. Okay, that's literally all there is. There there
No.
there's not really anything I'm questioning. Well, there's lots of things I'm questioning, but it's not story related questions.
So I do disagree with you on this. I think that there are better ways to do what they're doing. But I don't think that the better ways to do what they're doing are things that are done well in a separate series. And I think that they really, really wanted to give um, Wanda her own series, basically. So they're like, we want to do this. Here's the story. We're gonna make it happen. Somebody figure out how to make this happen, and then we're just gonna do it. So I think with the framing that they're using to tell the story, this is probably about as well as they can do. I think that this would have likely been a better character development arc had it been put in the context of a larger film. Like, and actually just like a 2 hour film, one and done, you're out the door. Um, as opposed to this one, which is going to be a lot longer. And I almost feel like like Disney kind of knew that these first couple of episodes weren't actually going to be all that good because
and that's why they put them both out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Kind of like when what they did with Ned. They're like, oh, no one's going to watch it anyway, so just drop them all. And like, but I think they realize.
I fully believe
mm-hmm.
had they put out episode 1 this week and episode 2 next week, by the end of episode 2 next week, people would have just been like, okay, that's it.
Yeah.
So that makes me hopeful for episode 3,
mm-hmm.
but it's also like, okay.
The thing is, they may not have just released episode 3 because they didn't think they could get enough people to watch more than an hour of television in a week. So there's a possibility for hope here, but it's not a real big one. It's like 50-50. Either something really substantial is going to happen in the next episode, or it really ain't. I'm less. I'm not impressed with what I'm seeing. I understand what I'm looking at. I understand what they're trying to make happen. I think there are a couple of better ways to do it. I don't think a flashback is the way to do it, because what you're describing is like they would drop us into like Wanda waking up in a psychiatric ward or a prison something, and she breaks out and she's all distraught and her hair is stringy and she's stumbling down hallways and there's guards and she's ripping them apart with her powers and kind of stuff, and they do that for 15 minutes and then boom, you're back in WandaVision.
Yeah,
I get you. I understand what you're doing. Why you'd say that, but I don't think that's actually where she's at. I think she is like, she's definitely like contained someplace. She's, you know what? She's probably on the raft.
The raft?
Yeah, the special prison for powered people.
Oh, the raft.
Yeah, because here's the thing: all of her powers are mental.
Mm-hmm.
So if she is locked herself into a like some sort of shell of psychosis, that doesn't mean that her powers are not manifesting themselves on the outside. So she could be laying there perfectly still. The whole room around her is in an absolute uproar and turmoil. And we don't, and that would be cause enough for everyone around her to be like, yeah, we need to stop this right now because we don't, like, she's really powerful. She destroyed an Infinity Stone. It got put back together, but she destroyed an Infinity Stone. That's not something that's really easy to do. Does she have the power to wipe out half of life on planet Earth? Maybe. We should probably try and wake her up and get her out of this. I can absolutely see that being like what's going on. And so basically what they're building us up for is that she is just going to have this lovely little character arc, and she's going to come out on the other side a better person, and she's going to wake up surrounded by her friends like Frodo and Rivendell, and I haven't seen you guys in so long and I'm all better now. Isn't it great? It's going to be a dramatic letdown. She's like, oh, I was so sad. I lost vision. And now I can see again. Like I can almost, like, the cheesy lines almost write themselves at this point. I lost my vision. Now I see.
Oh. So you're thinking this is set after the events of
Endgame.
Endgame.
Yes.
Okay, I've been living under the assumption that this is what happens between
Infinity War and Endgame. But this is during the blip? No, this is not during the blip.
No. I was imagining all this happening between Captain America: Civil War and Infinity War.
Nope.
That's what I like when they're that's what I was picturing.
Nope. This is the only anything coming out in phase 4, which we're now in, that is a time skip back, is Black Widow. Everything else is forward. Everything else is
that
post Endgame.
That knowledge, with that knowledge, WandaVision just became a lot more interesting.
Yes. You lacked context. Now you have context.
I don't hate WandaVision as much as I thought I did. It's still not good.
No,
but it's not as bad as I was thinking it was.
It's going to be an interesting psychological ride, I'm sure. There's probably not going to be any like major action until like episode 5. And then she'll create a nightmare for herself that she has to overcome. And then ultimately, like I said, she's going to wake up surrounded by her friends, and she's going to, lost my vision, and now I see. Like, it's like, I am almost going to be disappointed if they don't have her reference, I lost my vision, but now I see kind of thing at the end of this series. Like, it's so obvious. Like, again, this is really probably not going to do anything to move a larger story forward. It's just going to set her up to take a role in the larger story going forward. And it's not really even character development that she needed to have, or that couldn't have happened as a much smaller subplot as part of another larger movie. Like this whole sequence here could probably have been not just this sequence, but the entire series could probably be distilled down into a 10 to 15 minute subplot in the Multiverse of Madness. That would fit very well if it goes the way that I think it does. But I'll be very surprised if it doesn't. And I'm not just being cynical, I'm actually thinking this through. But I'm also being cynical. Because why not be both?
Fair enough.
I would say I can multitask, but I really can't.
No. Me either.
Clearly. So, Masters, let's talk about Tuesday.
What are we talking about? Okay, let's talk about Tuesday.
Let's not talk about Tuesday.
Let's talk about Tuesday.
I changed my mind.
No.
Oh.
So, who's your new character?
What did I name him? Did I name him yet? I think I did. I mean, Ellen's not necessarily dead, but he's
there is a slim chance that we can save you. I think it heavily depends on you rolling 3 successes.
Prioritize Hagen, please prioritize Hagen.
Absolutely, I'm proud. I mean, he's my best friend. I've already told Monkey that if Hagen dies, Zonos is going to the dark side.
Alrighty. I mean, that would actually work out really well with my next character.
Like, seriously, right now he is chaotic good. He would abandon his god and go chaotic evil if Hagen dies.
So my new character is Brasorius Milktorum. And he's a Death Domain cleric. Because why not?
Yeah. But so Mumbles messaged me, and he said after Wednesday morning, he messaged me and said, "Hey, so let me hear it. Everything that I did wrong last night that led to the situation you guys were in." And I said, "No, you did great." It's like, this was our screw up.
No.
Like
no. I know exactly what he did wrong. I know 100%, and it was him. And he mentioned it and was surprised. But like, I have the text chain going back and forth between me and him, where, do you remember him mentioning something about blunted arrows?
Blunted arrows.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was under the impression that I already had them, but the actual conversation that we had was that, hey, here is a potential solution for when we encounter something that I can't actually just take on with my bow. He says, okay, are you going to get those? I said, no. In character, I'm going to wait until I encounter a situation where I don't have them or where I can't damage someone, and then I will go out and I will purchase these and we'll make it work.
Okay, so two things here.
Blanked that out and just said he has them. Yeah?
Yeah. So 2 things here. One, you returned were not our issue. Our issue was being stupid about the Rams. That was our issue. We eventually dealt with and moved on from the returned. It was the Rams that killed us or are killing us.
I mean, it was kind of like
2,
one led into the next.
2, you could have very easily taken one of your arrows, broken the tip off, and shot it and have it be blunted.
I asked him about that. He said it wasn't. That was kind of where the blunted arrows came from. Like that was already shot down.
Why would that be shot down? That would be a blunted tip.
He said it would still do piercing damage.
Or no, it wouldn't. That's not how not how arrows work.
DM rule.
I would argue that rule.
Well, you would lose because he's a DM.
When you first came up and said I have a stupid idea, I didn't realize your stupid idea was going after the Rams for some reason. That was a stupid idea. I thought you were going to come up and start beating the guy with your bow as an improvised weapon.
That wouldn't do any good.
It's an improvised weapon. That would have been a D4.
Nope.
Using your strength.
My strength is a -1, so it's actually 0.
No, it would be a D4.
Well,
so if you rolled a 1, it would be a 0, but you could have rolled 3 damage.
Yeah, I thought it would be better. I assumed the Rams were somewhat powerful, and I was assuming that they were actually animals, and I have very high animal handling on Elam. So to me, it made a lot of sense to be like, okay, I'll run up, I'll mount one of these things, and I'll ride it so it charges into the back of the returned. That was a stupid idea, but it's a lot smarter than what actually ended up happening, because then I get up there and he's like, oh yeah, it's not actually an animal, it's a monstrosity.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I wasn't aware of that. And now I find out that we were supposed to have already encountered these, but he built the first encounter where we were supposed to have encountered these already a level too high for us, and everybody died, so we never actually got that far. So this is the first time that we've actually encountered these. I know he's mentioned them, but like in like the lore section, but mentioning it and actually having done it are two very different things.
Our characters have done it, and that's all that matters.
Well, it matters in terms of story. In terms of gameplay, I had never encountered these. I didn't know what we were supposed to do. So, I didn't know what was going to work versus not work. So, I get up there and he's like, yeah, it's a monstrosity. I'm like, well, can I talk to it, I guess? Not really knowing what else is going to go on. And he's like, sure. So I did. I'm like, maybe I can get it to do the thing that I want to do anyway. And I was wrong. So, it's one of those, it's like Monkey says, my character is smart, I'm just stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. Okay, but I have a plan.
Okay.
Because I'm not actually dead, because I'm awesome, I still have 1 HP left.
Okay.
I'm still prone because I failed the strength save miserably.
Yeah.
But I plan to stand up, cast fog cloud,
okay,
and run away. I'm going to try and position it so that all of the Rams are inside of it, and leaving Hagen and Rorkos on the outside of it, so that Rorkos can go over and save Hagen. But the problem with that is you're still on the inside.
That's okay. Like I said, if Elam goes down, 2 things will happen. Number 1, we will have more balanced encounters. Number two, and number two, I already have another, like, my Death Domain Cleric is almost specifically designed to break Mumble's campaign in a different way. Because what does he love to throw at us every time we have an encounter? Every encounter we've had so far, what's it been?
Undead.
Guess what I can do?
You can turn undead.
I can turn undead. Plus, because
there's a saving throw associated.
Yeah, but I mean, even with that, there's still a bunch of other spells and stuff that he has as a Death Domain Cleric, and not just a Death Domain Cleric. When you add the Epic of Theros in here, and you start adding things onto him because of that, he's going to become practically impervious to all things undead really fast, like unfairly fast. And I'm like, Plus, the other thing is also from the Epic of Theros, with him serving Erebos, the way that you curry favor with Erebos is that you kill returned and send them back to the underworld. So piety points for days.
Agreed.
I'm not saying it's the best idea. I'm just saying it's what I got.
But yeah, so we have a basic plan.
Mm-hmm.
So
get Hagen back up and run like heck.
Yeah, that's the plan.
We were doing so well the week before. We also just had some really bad rolls. Like really bad rolls. Like last week I crit twice in a row. This year I crit failed twice in a row. Yeah, why don't you just cut the wool off there with your scissors? Okay. Zip. I did love his description though. Just like wrapping paper, you just slide your scissors down there. It seems to be going quite so, just smooth as silk, and all of a sudden, you notice the wool is turning red. I'm like, oh Lord. That's not going to end well for anyone.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
I probably actually could have gotten out of there if I'd have done one thing different, but I didn't do that, and so here we are. Mm-hmm. I could have I could have double dashed and then just like left you all behind.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably what you should have done.
Probably.
But yeah, I was literally getting ready to make a new character, and then I went, wait a second. Hard to kill. Holy crap, I'm still alive.
I'm still alive.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so moving on to Friday night. There were just so many technical issues. We really didn't do anything Friday night.
You'd have had to catch me up anyway because I didn't get home in time to deal with that.
We had a little bit of RP on the train, and then there were technical difficulties in the start, so we started an hour late, and then Mumble's internet dropped out, and people's computers were dying on them, and it was just bad.
Is this still technically the same? The same setting as the last one, or is this like totally new?
It's the same setting, but the story has changed. Mumble says he took the previous campaign that he had written and threw it out and burned it. Literally.
Again, I think that is mostly just because of he thought he could reliably predict how things were going to happen.
Yes. Yep.
And he was wrong.
That is a struggle that all new DMs go through. I can attest.
It's like, oh, there's no way that they're gonna go.
Why,
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that's why by the end of things, I was doing a lot of improvised storytelling rather than planning out. Like I would plan a bunch of random encounters, but I didn't plan any story thread stuff. It's like there's no point. You guys are not going to do that anyways. And then the one time towards the end where I planned out a ton of awesome desert encounters, you guys were like, "Hey, let's get back on the boat and sell the sea." And that's why you guys had some crappy encounters that game because I had absolutely nothing planned and I was looking up everything on the fly.
Well, that was again mostly just because of Tarrasque terror, but
He wasn't even awake. He was sleeping.
I was on your side. I mean, I was like, I didn't know anything. I'm like, we're steamrolling everything that gets thrown at us. We can probably take a Tarrasque. Like, if we get like one more level apiece, we can probably take this Tarrasque. Not, it might not be that might be a not easy fight, but I don't really know what else is going to stop us at this point. Yeah. I mean, when 3 people take out a legendary black dragon by themselves at level 10, I mean,
barely.
It happened. It happened.
Oh, literally by the grace of the gods.
Do not question Tamora, for she exists and knows all things, and she sees us and is kind.
Oh my goodness.
Aren't you ready for me to play another Cleric Masters?
I don't care what you play. I'm not your DM.
In fact, you might really like that idea this time around because you'll be on the benefiting end of it.
Oh, but yeah, I don't know if you've caught up at all, but I am playing a cleric on Friday night.
No, I haven't caught up. Well, no, I guess I watched this first session.
Yeah, that's basically all there's been. But yeah, I play a cleric, a life cleric.
Yeah.
So
I did know that. I did know that because I had the thought when I was making my death cleric. Hey, me and Masters are playing total opposites.
But yeah, I had an awesome idea for a new character Thursday night that I so desperately want to play, and it's a Goliath sorcerer.
Okay.
So he has a charisma. When I created him, I obviously wanted some sort of semblance of decent specs. So I rolled until I got at least 3 that were above 15.
Right.
And then if I ever actually use him, I'll re-roll for real. And if I don't get the rolls I want, then I'll just make a different character. But he has 20 charisma and 18 strength. And he's a Goliath. And his mother was a giant, and his father was a silver dragon. And he is also a chef that goes around to different villages to cook for the homeless and to tell them stories of his awesomeness.
Okay.
But he is not really a melee fighter, but if you get up close to him, he can wallop you with his staff. But he's mainly built to bolster the party. So like I'm gonna pick up haste and enlarge, reduce, and just all these crazy spells. I've got twin spell on him so that I can cast it on 2 different people at the same time, and it's just going to be awesome.
That does sound.
And I've got subtle spell so that if we ever come up against a caster, I can subtle spell blindness onto him so that they can't use their spells.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's good. I had it. Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Oh.
What?
I just realized that we're like, an hour into this and we haven't posted anything in the World's Worst Podcast channel. So I was looking for like a TPK meme or something like that to throw in there so people, at least Sass knows that we're not slacking off or anything. There's some good ones in here, but I haven't necessarily found the one for this book to convey what I was hoping to.
Yeah, so I don't know if you've been looking at all the memes that I'm posting in the D&D Discord.
Yeah.
But I see a lot more than I post in there, but they're just like riddled with cuss words, and I'm like, yeah, let's not post that.
Here we go. This one's nice and wholesome. It's Disney.
Rule checking, realization, and shock. Bitter acceptance. Oh. But yeah. So now have you been reading Alinda Group at all?
I have been, and then I haven't been. Like I was trying to read everything, and then I was logged in. I think it was on Wednesday, and there was 100 and some odd unread messages, and I'm like, I have to work today, and it's like 8:00 in the morning. This is not happening. So I did some skimming here and there.
So that's the good thing about the character that I've made is that they're all going, and so all I have to do is go in there and read, and if they ever interact with me, they ping me, and so I don't technically have to read, but I do because we're actually building quite a good story. But yeah, no, I am the only one that nobody knows anything about now, because they're opening up into Ducky's story right now. They've touched on Raid's story at the very beginning.
Yep.
And then Dask, along with that, he actually just gave out a little bit of his story, and HK is just over here like, yeah, I haven't decided if I'm going to murder you guys or not. At least that from their perspective.
Again, kind of like we said last time, they were really rushing to get all the backstory out before they got to the first encounter.
Well, that was because Mumbles messaged Micro and said, hey, since you guys picked up this mission, I'm just going to let you know that there's a 90% chance that this mission is going to out you as a Force user. And so that's why he came up front and was like, hey, I'd rather you find this out now than on the planet.
I think that's a mistake. You should let people just encounter things and work through it. Yeah. So, I'm the kind of person, from my limited DMing experience, my mentality behind it was I wanted cool scene. I had very little hope for like overall story. I was like, this is with the group. there were some limitations that were going to be imposed. And so I'm like, okay. Particularly like when I actually tried to have like a non-combat encounter, that didn't go well. That didn't go well at all.
No, it did not.
They're like, "Can we kill him?" I'm like,
because they're looking for the fight.
"Yeah," and it's like, no, he's just confused, folks. You just got to talk him through it. Nope, please don't. Please don't. Please don't.
And I tried to show them, but yeah, I was like, I go into the bedroom and wait for nightfall, and they were like, okay, we're gonna search upstairs. Now we're gonna search downstairs, but we've already searched over here. Now let's search over here.
Mm-hmm.
We already searched there too. It's like sometimes you just gotta wait, bro.
Yep. Yep. Unfortunately, well, that was, weirdness happens as weirdness. Yeah. Moving on, moving right along. Anyway, so, but yeah, I wanted to create cool encounters. I wanted to have fun experiences, big descriptions, all kinds of stuff like that. I wanted people to feel like it was a living, breathing world, and part of that requires a little bit of patience in the play out, and that's something that is not really being adhered to in the Alinda group chat.
Is my mute not working?
I'll
take that as a no because you're responding to me right now.
Yeah, it's not working. It's okay. No
Test. My mute's not working. That's bugging me.
Masters. At this point, there's only
Sass. Chopping on chips and stuff.
I was eating cookies earlier. You probably heard. I didn't care.
I didn't hear you eat cookies.
Oh, well, Sass did. So.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Not really. If I was sorry, I wouldn't have done it, but I did.
That's true. Oh.
So I mean, not giving anything away. There is, despite the 7 lines I've actually written for LAR9's backstory. He actually does have a fairly deep backstory. It's just all in my head. It's just a matter of how we play it out. But it's like, why would I tell you guys about this now? The perception that I'm having, or that I had going into this, is very different from the perception that I have right now regarding kind of our group dynamic. I was sort of the assumption that it was like, hey, we're done 1 or 2 missions together, and we just barely kind of know each other. And now it seems like, no, we've probably all been kind of doing missions together for a while.
Well, it's been 2 to 3 months.
Yeah, like enough that we're all past the point maybe of just actively wanting to kill each other, but just barely. And we're going from what was it? Realization and shock into bitter acceptance.
Yeah.
That's kind of where we are, I think, right now. We're crossing that line, which is good, but at the same time, it's a little difficult to balance that. I
figured it out.
You figured what out?
So I had when I connected my trumpet earlier.
Oh.
It switched over my input main from my normal mic to the other one.
Mm-hmm.
Discord is set up to use my blue mic, so it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was hitting my mute button, it was muting the thing that I had my trumpet plugged into and not the blue mic.
I've just had a horrible thought, Masters.
Yeah.
I have a piano. And you have a trumpet.
Maybe one day.
That's one of those things. I mean, I can't play I have never known how to play a piano. I might be able to do the scales. I did teach myself the scales, and then that was like 1.5 years ago. So, it is what it is. But It's one of those things like at the back of my mind. I should really learn how to play the piano, and then I don't. So I have infinite respect for you learning or relearning or refamiliarizing yourself with playing the trumpet.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It actually was pretty fun.
Good.
I actually realized that I was playing some notes wrong all of my life.
All your life?
Yeah, so like some of the higher notes that I was playing in high school, I was not doing it correctly. And that's probably why I often couldn't hit the notes because I wasn't pressing the right combination of buttons.
I say, as a person who doesn't play an instrument but does sing, usually when I can't hit the notes, it's because I didn't hit something else hard enough.
No comment.
By the way, I went and rolled stats for my new character. This is what I came up with. I should drop that in the other chat.
You can roll stats. You can roll stats in D&D Beyond directly now.
I was unaware of that. And I discovered that when I went to input my stats. I'm like, oh. But I really like these ones. So, why roll again? I actually think it would be cheating, really, to try and roll again. Right? Because Mumbles isn't the kind of guy, okay, you roll 3 times, you pick the best one, you drop this, do no. He's just like, you roll once and you stick with it. So I rolled once, I'm sticking with it.
Yeah.
That seems fair. Ish. And I kept that around in case I do have to bring in Brasorius. Or, not if, when. I'm quite sure, just for the frustration of this whole encounter, Mumbles will find a way to kill Elam.
Just think, you were going to wreck Ducky's backstory if you die.
Oh, I know. It's so good. but I okay, so I'm also being kind with this, but by picking a Death Domain cleric, because I am not entirely sure how it works, but I have the perception, at least, probably wrong, that there might be some way for him at a later level to like reconvene with the dead and find out what happened to her spear. So, like this was thought out. It wasn't just that I wanted to.
If we bury the body and don't remember where we buried it, and it's still there.
Hey, I came up with a solution for that too. You all just didn't like it. I thought that was a brilliant solution. I don't remember where it was. Was that in general? Oh, it was in Epic of Theros. Okay. So many stupid channels. I can't imagine why I can't keep up with half of them.
I know, right? But, it's better than having it spread across 4 different Discords.
Yes. Yes.
I don't want to argue with that, but
like maybe separate the live campaigns from the play-by-post. Maybe I could see that. I don't think separating them all into their own separate ones is a good idea, but I guess with what Mumbles is trying to do in terms of his Discord server there, I guess this does make more sense. It's just really confusing sometimes, especially if he keeps adding campaigns. Like, he's got 4 different campaigns here, plus a general area, plus whatever else he's got in here. Like, at some point, you're just going to be like, I need to reorder these just so I can figure out where my stuff is here. Am I part of this campaign? Nope. Okay, block it out. Oh, I didn't actually post it. Wait, did I post it? I think I did. Yes. I feel like I should also post a picture of Elam so that Sass isn't totally lost. Although I do kind of like the non sequitur here, where there's just a picture of a gigantic nose buried in sand, and he has no idea what's happening.
He's sending me D&D memes right now.
Yeah, me too. He is aware now that we are podcasting. He's trying to contribute. We appreciate it, Sass. We really do. Oh. All right. So, what else we got here, Masters?
The play-by-post we're actually in.
What? Oh, wait, stop, back up. Say it again. What?
The play-by-post that we're actually in.
Oh, Heskin Group. That's right. We just totally skipped over that one. Well, I mean, we did reference it, but I guess we didn't really talk about it.
Yeah, we referenced it at the beginning, but
mm-hmm.
How do you think this is going, Gabby?
I'm trying. So, did you catch that I was trying to be encouraging earlier? I do you remember back in SGA Craft? I made that meme about group projects, and it was you and me and Sass, and like that's kind of the group dynamic we've got going on here. like you're doing all the work. I am capable of doing the work. I'm just not necessarily doing it.
That's normal.
Monkey is really on board with doing it. He's just not actually doing it. Foxy thinks he is doing it, but he's not there. And J-Seed is, I think he's actually in a different campaign and is just sending us random posts from that.
JC just doesn't have the time to sit here at his computer like we do and post.
I mean, I don't really either, but I'm at least trying to keep up with it.
Yeah, so I see this either dwindling down or ending
quickly
within the next month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we are already a lot less active of a campaign than the other one.
Absolutely.
I mean, however,
it took us more than 24 hours to leave the planet.
And we did a whole lot less there.
Yeah.
A whole lot less. But, I mean, I don't know how else we could play this differently. Like just the way that our group dynamic is, we are like the dregs of the galaxy thrown together because nobody else wanted to deal with us, and we really don't want to deal with each other.
Precisely.
Like J-Seed sounds like in like the 9 posts that he's made, I guess he's made 10 because he has to 2 posts a day. But I guess in like the 10 posts that he's made, he is like wanting to, lead a droid revolution. And I tried to engage with him on that yesterday, and I got no response whatsoever. So I'm like, okay, we're not getting anything out of that one, are we? I think Foxy is actually trying to just be Din Djarin. Just straight up.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Without actually,
he told me that's what he's trying to do.
Without actually realizing what it takes to be Din Djarin. That's a whole other set of issues.
Yeah. I think Foxy is trying his best. But it's like somebody who wants to be a mathematician, but they can't remember what 4 times 8 is.
Right.
Yeah, it's like they want to be this thing, they just don't. I don't want to say doesn't have the mental capacity, but
it's like they realize it's like he realizes that something is cool, but he doesn't realize what it is that makes that thing cool.
exactly. That says it exactly.
Yes.
He's like, "Oh, this is going to be fun," and then he doesn't realize what makes it fun.
Right. Which is kind of sad, but I mean, like at the same time, it's like, what are we gonna do here? We gotta, we have to keep playing. I have to say, you're wrecking my character's future. Just absolutely wrecking it.
Am I?
You dug a hole in his chest.
What future did you have for him?
I talked with Mumbles, and like Larry is my character to actually turn into a farmer. He can't do that if his structural integrity is compromised because he's got a hole with a chair in it for a little hobbit person.
Hey, I made you stronger, thank you very much.
That's debatable.
You are more rigid. And technically, I have said that I changed your gear ratio so that you don't feel a difference to the added weight. So technically, if that is your goal, we could remove the added weight and then you become stronger.
It's a compression thing. Metal does have a stress point, at which point it will no longer flex or compress, and then it fractures.
I know.
And then he breaks.
I know.
And if he's planning on being a Rancor farmer, it becomes a lot harder because you have to lift everything yourself. I was just saying.
I have nothing to say to you about that.
I mean, we don't have goats in Star Wars, so I had to find something to farm. Rancors seemed like a good enough second place. And there's actually a reason for like Rancors beyond just being like I want to be a farmer and they're close by. There's a legitimate reason. It's probably gonna be thrown out the window in like the next 2 or 3 days, but you know. I do like him though. He's fun. I wish it's kind of hard though because I'm balancing his verbal tick against just being a useful member of the crew, and I don't want to.
Yeah, what is up with the
request denied?
Request denied. I figure it has something to do with the character you based him off of.
Nope.
But
I didn't base him off anything. He's entirely original.
Then answer my question.
Oh, what's actually up with that?
Yeah.
Just I just thought it'd be fun. Like that. Are you asking like what the cause of it is in canon, or are you asking me like why did I decide to do that?
Yes.
So in canon, he's an old droid from a lesser manufacturer. Like, I think I have him aged at being like 71 years or something like that, which probably is not actually old enough. I'm saying that that's like the day that he has record of coming online in his present configuration. So his droid servo brain and everything is actually even older than that, which I think it comes along, which at least I'm trying to make come across fairly well in his conversational interactions with people. He uses kind of archaic tongue. He's kind of very straight, non-expressive, very flat kind of thing. Robotic, if you will. But as he only has record of coming online in his present configuration, he doesn't actually know how old he is. He doesn't know. He knows where he was originally designed, or at least his initial body, which was an astromech, obviously. but it was from.
Yes, obviously.
He's an Adumarian astromech, and Adumar is a place that is like their whole culture revolves around starfighters. So they build fantastic starfighters. They build great weapons systems, everything else like that. But they like cut corners on pretty much everything else. So, kind of a cut rate thing there. And then he's had upgrades and refurbishments and software and hardware upgrades over the years. And then like finally, 70 some odd years ago, a complete and total overhaul of his entire system, entire being. Which I don't even know what the purpose behind that is, because I didn't tell Mumbles what it was. I just said, this is the case. He had a bunch of memory wipes. He doesn't remember. He doesn't know. And it's because of the accumulated, like, extra data. So basically he just hasn't been defragmented, but he keeps getting stuff deleted. So he's got like fragments of things that are stuff left around, and one of those fragments manifests itself as denying all requests and orders first before complying with them. And it doesn't necessarily have to be request denied. It's just that seems to fit really well with most of the scenarios that have been presented to me so far. I could start switching to I'm disinclined to acquiesce to your request, but
Oh, so is this something that could be repaired in him?
Potentially, but you would need like a majorly good slicer to get in there and fix it.
Hi.
You're a mechanic, not a slicer. It's different.
I can also do computers.
I said majorly. You're like a mediocre.
I have 2 yellows and 2 green.
Let me know when you get to 5.
And Monkey is actually, that's what he is a slicer.
I think it's more of like, I think it's more of like a milestone thing. If it really becomes an issue, I'll talk with Mumbles and be like, hey, let's figure this out. But I mean, right from what you said, we're only expecting this to go about a month anyway. So before we make a mountain out of a molehill, let's just see how things go.
Fair enough. So I mean, that's kind of what HK is about. For anybody that's played KOTOR, my character is literally based off of HK-47. And
no, he is an HK-47.
He's HK-48.
Okay, fine. Experiment 626. How can we make one better? Experiment 627. Ha ha ha. Go ahead.
Mumbles and I have put together a system for repairing and accessing his core memories and functionalities.
Okay.
So
that sounds dangerous.
Yeah.
For the person doing it.
I know, right? But it's gonna be fun. I've already started working on the party to make them want to do that, because he's never going to request it unless you ask him about it. That's his whole character. See, he doesn't do anything unless he's asked to, unless it is something that is part of his already given instruction.
So basically, we've made the exact same character, is what you're saying.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
Except mine's a killing machine, and yours is a pilot.
Yeah. Fair enough. Although I do find it funny that my pilot has a better, and it does have a better attack roll than anyone else in the party. I have 2 greens and a yellow, and Foxy's best is a green and a yellow.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? What does J-Seed have? I didn't look at his.
Oh, his are all green. 2 greens.
Okay.
because J-Seed was building R2. So me, J-Seed, and Monkey all at this current stage are all basically the same mechanically
inclined.
we're all the same mechanically.
Right.
That's what I'm trying to say. There's a little bit of variance, but we're all good at computers and mechanics work. I was going to be a droid mechanic. That was my goal. But that's literally what J-Seed spec'd into. Was to be a droid tech. Which I completely bypassed when I was making my character. And then Monkey is a slicer. And I am an engineer. That is good with. Let's see, what is my actual subclass? Oh, my specialization is scientist. So I was gonna go the droid route, but now I'm gonna go the tinkerer's route.
Right.
So I'll be able to modify weapons and armor. For everybody.
Yeah, we're one of those groups that has zero diversification.
Yeah, absolutely.
We are all one thing.
We are all unique in everything except for jobs.
And actually, is R4 R2 or because J-Seed, I mean, like the 10 posts he's made have been very like he is referencing Chopper as though his droid is Chopper.
Yeah. Referencing Chopper.
Yeah, like he's just doing that. I'm like, okay, that's fine.
But he didn't start referencing Chopper. Like that wasn't his plan until we made him the gunner.
Oh. I mean, I should also be the gunner because I have the highest gunnery skill too.
But you're the pilot.
I have a second hand. And hey, if you become a tinkerer, you can give me a third one. In fact, that might work out really well for you if you install it right below your little chest cavity there. Then he can reach down and pick you up and put you in.
I just climb you. It's fine.
You should have installed handholds. It's going to come back to bite you at some point.
Yeah, well, nobody gets it perfect on the first shot.
I actually did have that thought while you were doing it. I'm like, should I mention handholds? Nah.
Yeah, I did. I purposefully did not make it perfect on the first shot.
And then I did a backflip.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I wanted is I wanted a hole that I could comfortably stand in. I wanted a seat for me to sit in. And I wanted a way for me to be able to talk through you, as well as to you, and to be able to see what you see. Those were the only things that I wanted to do. Like when you started typing, I was like, crap, I really should have put a harness in this thing because he's going to do something stupid.
You should get make yourself like a miniature roller coaster harness.
Exactly. Yeah, that was my thought.
One of the things that comes down over the top.
My next upgrade on you is going to be to put an over the shoulder harness. Yeah. And I thought about it when we got to the station. I thought, okay, I'm going to put the over the shoulder harness, and then I'm going to put a place for me to be able to shoot out of you. Because currently I can't do that without opening the front hatch.
I just had a really bad thought about what this is going to look like. If you put like two little holdout blasters, one on either side of... I'm sorry.
Where are you going with this, Gabby?
The wrong place.
Oh my goodness.
I mean... Technically, it would work. Just, I mean, it depends on how you mount them. Yeah.
Okay, I see what you're saying now.
Yeah.
I thought you were going one place, and then you said two, and I was very confused, and now I'm back on board. Oh, Gabby.
I'm just saying, like, he's already capable of turning 180 degrees around behind him. Like, I kind of got like a full field of fire here, and you're just gonna add a couple more forward facing, I guess.
Oh my goodness.
That's not gonna end. It's not gonna end poorly at all.
Oh.
You can see him like on trial. LAR 9-E on the day of yada yada. Who cares? You shot someone.
Oh, I did go back and edit all of my posts.
Oh, okay.
To change it. Yeah, I mean, I started off good calling you LAR9, and then by the end of that same sentence, I called you XI, and I just called you XI from then on out.
Yeah. I'm giving up on Larry. Larry's not going to happen.
No, it's not.
I was trying.
You have too many left right brain people.
Left brain.
Left brain.
Right brain are creative. Left brain is logical.
Okay, yeah. You have too many left brain droids and fleshies in your party.
Yep. I'm just giving up on it.
I almost called you Larry a couple of times, but I was like, well, I've been calling you LAR9 this entire time. So no need to change it now.
That'll be his name when he switches over to being a farmer.
Or maybe I eventually come to see the sentient being in you and start calling you by your preferred name.
Well,
maybe this is a journey.
Well, it was supposed to be, and apparently I'm already a free sentient droid, from what Mumbles said, which is also
all droids are now considered sentient under his lore, which is why we get money. And I say we because HK.
Yeah. I think that's a really bad story decision, because then you have to deal with a lot of like, as soon as you say that a company can make a sentient being, you go down a very dark rabbit hole.
Well, Monkey's character is literally fresh off the line. He is only 2 months old.
Yes.
So, and he is considered a sentient being.
Yes. Like I said, that's a philosophical nightmare, because you have given a corporation, as ostensibly out for profit, the ability to just make people, and it actually count as a people. Droids work best as non-sentient beings with occasional rare, highly specialized exceptions. And I understand what he's trying to say, but I think Legends canon for Star Wars thought this through a little bit better. And I told him so.
So I think his main reason for doing it is to justify giving us credits.
Fair.
That because he didn't say anything about it until I said, "Why are you giving me credits? I'm a droid," and he spouted off that nonsense. And I said, "You just made that up, didn't you?" He said, "Yeah, it's my lore. I can do what I want."
Yeah. He and I had some DMs back and forth a couple days ago about, or whatever that was, yesterday, the day before. And it's like, I understand that it's easier and more conducive for, or it's just easier for you to deal with that as the DM, but it really kind of breaks all of your world in the Heskin group, especially. Because
well,
it's all droids.
I'm still playing HK as though he's not sentient.
I'm also playing.
He has independent thoughts due to his advanced AI, but he is also bound by duty to follow his core programming.
See, this is what I was actually trying to get into with J-Seed 2 days ago, whatever it was, when I was trying to discuss, what was the word I used here? Something defective, droid servant philosophy or something like that. I forget which one it was. But so J-Seed is talking about droid liberation. Well, now J-Seed has much less motivation because apparently all droids have been liberated. Congratulations. Larry has much less to do now as well because he is kind of operating under the auspices of being formed for a specific purpose and either trying to or trying to avoid that purpose.
Yeah, well, there's a difference between being called sentient and being liberated, because, and I've brought this up several times. HK is owned by the Olinda Corporation.
I was told by this may not apply to HK, but Mumbles told me specifically that Larry was not owned.
Well, you might not be unless
so,
you
so
say
he
you are.
he asked me specifically if what Larry's perception on it was, and I'm like, he considers himself to be the property of the Heskin Corporation. Like, that is his perception. He says, well, you're not actually owned. And I'm like, okay, that actually really complicates things because
he hasn't told me that, and I've told him that I'm owned by the Olinda Corporation.
Maybe it's different. Maybe you're an old enough model that it doesn't really count. But I mean, I don't know.
Grandfather Dan.
Yeah, literally. What he said specifically
My sister just texted me and said, "Hey, have you watched WandaVision?" And I said, "Yes, I don't want to talk about it." She said, "Why?" And then I just sent her my Twitter feed.
My family does that to me all the time. They'll say, "Hey, let's sit down and watch this movie," and it's always a movie that they know I'm not going to like. Like, we they're my family. They know me pretty well. They know what I tend to like versus don't like. And they pick this movie out that's like, oh, this is so great and this and the other. And they know before we sit down, I'm going to dislike the film. We get to the end and they'll be like, well, what did you think about it? I'm like, well, I didn't like this. The acting was terrible. The direction was poor. The camera work was awful. And they're like, why can't you just enjoy the film? And I'm like,
because it's not good.
Yes. If it had been a good film, I would have enjoyed it. But no. Anyway, Mumbles said to me, and I quote, "You are considered an employee of Heskin Group, although your contract currently has no end date." So it almost seems like some sort of indentured servitude.
Yeah, it's sounds more like a kind of like a, I don't know what to compare it to, but maybe like a gig worker, where it's like you're our employee, but we don't have to give you these benefits because you're technically a gig worker kind of situation. Where it's like we own you, but for paperwork purposes, you're just an employee that doesn't ever get to quit.
What's that old song?
She just responded, "LOL." You're right, though.
What's that? Okay. There's an old song called 16 Tons. And the big refrain in it that they go over and over and over is, I owe my soul to the company store. You know, yeah. 16 tons of coal. And it just goes on everything. Another day older and deeper in debt. St. Peter, don't you call me because I can't go. I owe my soul to the company store. And it's like, that's kind of what it feels like we are. Where we're like, we're free, but we're not free. Kind of thing. Which could still work. I mean, I don't know why my apparently my fresh batch of characters are all indentured servants and slaves, but it works. If we ever get back to Keenstar, that is.
Why are Dutch hounds trending on Twitter?
Why are what trending on Twitter?
Dutch hounds, wiener dogs.
I don't know. Didn't realize they were trending on Twitter. I was doing a podcast.
Me too. This is content.
Is it? I guess it is now.
I just happened to look over and see Dutch hounds trending on Twitter, and I'm like,
also, why do you call them Dutch hounds? They're dash hounds.
Because I'm from the South,
or
okay?
more properly, Dachshunds, because they're German.
Well, I either call them Dutch hounds or wiener dogs. Get over it.
Like wiener dog, I'll accept. Dutch hound is just no. That's wrong. I'm sorry. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. I mean, in fairness, this is probably the most wholesome and positive thing that's trended on Twitter in like 6 weeks.
I know, right?
Or longer.
It makes me happy, but not as happy as it would if Maine Coons were to trend on Twitter.
Oh, cats are awesome.
Hopefully, in about 3 or 4 months, I can have cats again.
Hopefully, in about 6 months, I can get a cat. Oh no!
Okay over there?
You put me on Twitter, and of course, on my Twitter, I took everything off except for cats and guns. And the first thing I see is this video of a cat sticking its head down a long neck glass of milk and getting stuck. Oh, I love it. Here we go. Here we go. Just. Whoop. It just makes me happy. Cats are awesome.
Is he stuck or is he just drinking the milk?
Like, he can probably get out. Will he be able to get out and stay dry? She. Okay, fine.
This meme that you posted, "Kill it with fire." Subtly, what is good for? Subtly, what is it good for? Absolutely nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Subtlety. I was reading there.
You were. I was enjoying it.
Friday night, Monkey's character is now a wildfire druid.
Ooh.
So that's actually accurate. He's going to be slinging fire everywhere.
It would almost be better. I mean, actually, he could multi-class into sorcerer, and then he could hit the classic line. I didn't ask how big the room was. I said I cast fireball.
Oh, he gets fireball.
Oh,
as the wildfire druid.
Even better.
Yeah. He also gets a little flame elemental that does explosive fire damage when it's brought into the material plane, and also it can teleport people. And when it leaves through teleportation, it also does another explosion.
Well, that doesn't seem broken at all.
It's super awesome.
Wait a second. Is his fire elemental basically just Nightcrawler, but with fire?
Basically, yeah.
Kind of awesome. I want to see him fully act out the opening scene from X-Men 2 with this thing.
I haven't seen X-Men 2 in forever.
Oh, it is the best X-Men movie.
I agree, because it has Nightcrawler. Nightcrawler is my favorite X-Men.
Well, Nightcrawler's in some of the later ones, but they're not as good. Hmm. They just aren't making stuff like they used to, Masters. Now they got all artsy fartsy with it.
Huh?
So they're just not making stuff like they used to. X-Men 2 is very straightforward, and it does a really good job of what it does. But then they're like, oh, let's make WandaVision.
Yeah.
Which is not even the fourth best, because I mean, number 1, Mandalorian, number 2, season 7 of the Clone Wars, number 3, Earth to Ned, number 4. Okay, Muppets Now is probably number 5. Number 4 is probably something I haven't seen, but like Disney Plus, do better.
Yeah. When you said earlier that you liked the clouds, I thought you were saying you liked the clouds, and were referring to the movie Clouds that I had mentioned last week.
No, I was referring to the clods. The cute little bundles of murderous energy. Cannibalistic murderous energy. Pretty sure they're cannibals. Just going out on a limb there.
Yeah, I mean, seems legit.
Specifically, like in the second to last episode, it talks about how they only live for like 49 days. You have to replace your whole workforce every 49 days. You got to have a food source somehow. Just saying. I
mean, that's just logistics. Didn't we have more to talk about? Oh, yes, we do.
We do?
Fallen Order.
Fallen Order. Oh, yes, we did talk about. I mean, I haven't gotten that far.
I know you haven't. You've only played it for like 2 hours.
Yeah.
But from what you've played so far, how do you like it?
Where have
you made it to?
I made it to the like sanctuary where they tell you about basically the whole hook of the thing of the story. You know,
okay.
Go to this place, find the MacGuffin, bring it back, I'll give you new orders kind of thing. Yeah. And then they gave me the option to go to the place that I went to or to Dathomir, and I remember you telling me that you titled your stream Dathomir, yes. And I'm like, I'm going to go with the other one.
Yeah, for real. My goodness. I died so much on that stupid planet.
I haven't quite figured out how to make my force powers work, but I'm doing some serious work with the lightsaber. I'm like, I do like the force slowdown thing, and it's like, yeah, okay. Now what?
So the force slowdown is all you have at that point.
I know. Believe me, I'm aware.
You eventually unlock more force powers, and it'll actually. I don't want to spoil it.
It will actually become useful. Like, I'm on the planet they're trying to go get get the first.
The force absolutely becomes useful. Like, it's nowhere near like Force Unleashed. Levels of useful.
That's not really levels of useful. That's a crutch, a straight up crutch. Particularly if you use the Infinite Force cheat, which I absolutely never did. But that's a whole.
I never played it. I was too poor to have that game, so I just played the demo over and over and over again.
Oh, the Infinite Force cheat was something. It was. You just like drop into a level and you're like, okay, do I do this legit or do I just hold down lightning the whole way through? My mind is made up. Just go hold down lightning through the whole thing. Just like run up. Oh no! Look, it's Orphle. The Inquisitor's here. Your arm will tire before I do. Oh man. I forget what there's a game that came out not recently, within the last couple of years. And they have different difficulty settings for everything. I mean, all games do really to some extent. And they had hard, veteran, medium, easy kind of stuff. And then they had one that was specifically, it was actually titled I Just Want to Feel Powerful.
Yeah.
That is the Force Unleashed with the Infinite Force mod, the Infinite Force cheat. He's just like,
absolutely.
I want to feel powerful. kneel before me, and you can't play like a Jedi or a light side character in that. Like as soon as you turn that on, you're like, you are committing. I am going to kill every living being on this planet, and I'm going to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Can't imagine why people are terrified of certain things I may or may not do. That's a whole. Not getting off that. Yeah. So, whatever is it? Fallen Order seems pretty good. I like. It seems kind of predictable. Like I don't remember precisely what my thoughts were, but I'm like 70% sure I know exactly how it's going to end, and I will remember exactly how I thought that was as soon as I turn it back on again. But I mean, it seems fun. The gameplay's pretty solid. I am also playing it on the hardest difficulty just because I don't want to feel
outshined.
Yes.
Dude, is it not ridiculous? How many times have you died?
I don't know. Is there a counter for that?
I don't know if there is or not, but if there isn't, they need to make one.
I have died less in it than I have in Dark Souls and gotten a lot farther. How about that?
I never played Dark Souls, so.
I mean, considering how far I got into it, neither have I.
That's fair. That's fair.
Like, I don't think I've even gotten past the first area in any sort of meaningful manner.
Yeah. But one of the things that I like about this game is how much they did with so little.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because you start out with just the one planet, and then after you go and talk to the old dude, you unlock 2 more planets. I don't know how many planets there are in total, but from what I've done so far, I don't feel like there are very many.
Okay. Well, I mean, they have to limit it to some extent.
Well, yeah. But my point is that the way they have it set up is so that you go and you explore a planet, and then you go in somewhere else and you level up, and then you get to go back to that planet and explore it more because you now have more capabilities that you didn't have the first time.
Okay.
And so there's just so much explorability to it.
Huh. So I actually I thought that was actually going to be the case when I was on the one planet on like the temple planet or whatever.
Yeah.
I thought there was going to be a point where I'm like, okay, I got to figure out, I'm going to have to leave and come back because I couldn't figure out how to get one of the puzzles done. And then I figured out how to do it. And I'm like, okay, I got you now. It was just like,
but there are physical barriers that you have based on your force abilities. So you'll get force push and pull at some point, and there are obstacles that are in your way that you cannot get past without unlocking those first.
Okay. I am kind of upset by their progression, their character progression, not like building character. The talent tree. Because
I don't like it either.
Because
that is my least favorite part about it.
They have like their 3 branches, but you can only progress so far in any one particular branch before you have to redirect to a different branch.
Yep.
And I don't like that.
No. It's like here, you can customize your character in this one way. It's like you have all these customization options that are very specific to this one build we want you to have.
Yeah. And I'm like, but I just like...
It's like you choose how you get to this end goal that we've set for you.
Except no, we choose for you.
Yeah.
Because my thought was, I'm just going to build a straight tank. I'm just going to throw everything into vitality and whack it with a lightsaber until I get, until I max that out. And I got like 3 levels in there, and they're like, oh no, now you have to redirect to something else. I'm like, but I don't want to.
Yeah.
I just want to, again, I want to feel powerful.
Exactly.
And I don't feel powerful right now. I feel like I'm dying to a toad for the 900th time today.
Yeah, I eventually just ran past him.
No, I defeated him, and then I figured out how to beat him, and then I beat him like 6 times in a row. And then,
yeah, once you figure out their moveset and how to beat them,
mm-hmm.
super easy. But the first time you encounter him, it's like, holy crap! How am I ever going to be strong enough to defeat this thing?
No, I was like, the first time I fought it, I got it like 60% down. I'm like, okay, if I just make this move differently, I can do this, that, and the other. And then it took me
so
like,
you're just better at the game than me. Got it.
no, I play Monster Hunter. That is the explanation. I play Monster Hunter, figuring out how.
You're better at the game than me.
I'm quite
I
sure.
didn't stutter.
I'm quite sure when I encounter a whole bunch of droids, I'm going to get my face blasted off. But for the moment, like for like monsters, like I was trying to find a way to get to the big lizard and fight.
I haven't fought any droids.
Or okay, whatever they are, stormtroopers. Man, I encounter a bunch of stormtroopers. I'm going to get my face blasted off. But I was trying to find a way to get over to the big lizard to fight that, and I couldn't find a way. I guess I'm gonna need like a double jump force power or something to get there, but like
so
I was so close. There's this like little pathway you can find, like and it goes up to like this slanted hill, and there's these two walls that are that follow all the way up, and you can't climb the hill just by running, but you can jump off the walls, and I almost got all the way up there, rappelling off the walls back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I got so close, but after like an hour, I couldn't get. I guess it wasn't an hour. It was like a half an hour just trying to climb this stupid hill. I'm like, I'm going to get there. I did not.
Yeah, there was. So there's a place you can get to where it has like a fold-out chair looking thing.
Mm-hmm.
You can't sit in it, sadly. But it basically tells you about that creature a little bit, and you get to see it more up close. But I don't think there is a way to get to it.
There's definitely a way. If there's any kind of mobility maneuvers, there's a way to get to it. If you like, just by your starting run and jump, you're within like 6 inches of being able to make it across that gap. I'm quite sure there's a way to get there, and as soon as I figure it out, I will kill it.
So this is just Star Wars Monster Hunters for you, isn't it?
I mean, at a certain level, everything is Monster Hunter. But sometimes the real monsters are the people that are around us. Or at the other end of the blaster rifle. It's a reference to this afternoon. I'm going to be honest. This afternoon was the most fun I've had gaming in like 3 years.
Yes. Yeah. So I dismissed Battlefront 2 just because of all of the negativity that surrounded it.
Yeah, the bad press.
When it first came out, I had no intentions of buying it because I refuse to spend that kind of money on games anymore. But getting it and playing it today was fun.
The gameplay on it is very solid.
Yeah. I mean, I felt like I was playing an updated version of it. It's not as good as the original Battlefront 2, but it's like as far as mechanics wise and stuff. But like I feel like I'm playing Battlefront 2 again.
Mm-hmm.
It's just prettier.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few caveats to it that I'm still trying to figure out, but yeah, I really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, the whole heroes thing is still kind of messing with me. I understand everyone wants to play with, yada yada Luke and Leia, and I could care less about them.
Yeah, so the way it worked in Battle, I don't know if you played. For those of you that haven't played
a little bit, not much.
When you played it in the original Battlefront 2, it's after you got a certain amount of kills built up in a row, it would say this hero is available to you, and then you could switch to that hero.
Right.
But this one is just like, okay, if you go and get enough points, then you can unlock the hero and play it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a lot easier to get to the hero status than it was in the original.
Right.
I do like the added addition of the special classes that you can unlock.
Like the step up classes where it's like it's not the hero, but it's like you're yeah. Those are really nice.
Yeah, those were fun.
I prefer those dramatically over the heroes. I think I got Chewbacca once, and I got Obi-Wan once, and I'm like, neither of these is really doing it for me.
Yeah, Chewbacca really. Well, I didn't get Chewbacca. I got another Wookiee, but he wasn't good at all. His bowcaster was slow. The accuracy of it was off, and it didn't one shot kill like it should.
Right. Like, we've been around enough. We know what these things should do.
Exactly.
We remember.
As Han says, I've got to get me one of these.
I like this here. Yeah, it just there's a lot of really good things about it. There's also a lot of I mean, I'm still encountering a lot of the same frustrating things that happen with all first person shooters for me. I am at my best a 1 KD player. At my absolute best. I show up, I kill a person and die immediately.
Yeah, I'm usually a 1.2, 1.5. But yeah, Mumbles was killing it today. No pun intended. Okay, maybe pun was a little intended.
It was definitely intended. Don't even play.
But yeah, I think the most frustrating part was that we don't have everything unlocked.
Yes. And I discovered something after we broke the party. I played another round or two. The unlocks don't count for special weapons. They have to be the main weapon. So like
what do you mean?
Okay, so like the heavy blasters, right? If you press,
you're talking about like if I hit E on the keyboard and go to the sentry mode.
Yeah, that does not count towards your kills. Yeah, okay. I didn't realize that.
Wait, it doesn't count towards your kills?
I mean, it doesn't count towards your unlocks.
Okay.
And your the unlocks for that is kills, or at least for part of that is kills with the main weapon.
Yeah, well, I used the main weapon most of the time, so I only broke out the the sentry if there was like a bunch of people and they were all lined up for me. Then I was like,
I was probably leaning on that a lot more than I should have been. And then I discovered later on, because it actually does more damage per hit and it shoots more strikes and doesn't overheat and yada yada yada.
Yep.
But the regular cannon does a pretty good shot. And I did actually unlock the next one up.
Did you?
Yes.
I didn't even unlock that, but that was because I was going heavy the entire time. I did assault maybe once or twice, and then switched back to heavy.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last 2 rounds we did, I went officer because it has a turret.
Right.
And I did a lot better as the officer. Plus, he has a heal.
Right.
So
I think
I'm better as a support character in almost every game. So, I mean, when we play squadrons, I'm the support flyer, giving people shield and whatnot.
It hurts me to actually say this because I refuse to acknowledge it as being a support weapon, but I wonder if you might do better in Monster Hunter if you brought a hunting horn or a light bow gun, because those are the 2 quote-unquote support weapons.
Maybe.
I don't view either of them as support weapons, but everybody else. Capcom calls those the support weapons, and what does anyone else know that's more than Capcom? Oh, a lot. Actually play the game. Anyway, but yeah, you might do better at Monster Hunter with a support weapon as opposed to being something else. Something to think about.
If we ever play that game ever again.
I mean, I have not played it a lot. I haven't this is not only the most fun I've had playing video games in the last several years. This is like the most I've played video games in the last several months. Like,
yeah.
I'm almost it feels like I'm almost at that point of adulthood where I'm like, I could probably just do without them. And then there's that part of me that's like, well, if I could, why am I not doing without them? It's a really weird place to be.
I don't have those thoughts. It's just that I play games. I play mobile games daily. If I mean, I have. If I am truthful, my most played game ever is a mobile game. I play Toy Blast all the time. Um, and so when I say I haven't played games in X amount of time, I have. It's just been mobile games, and people don't count those as games. So
I mean, some people do.
Well, some people do.
I would count them as games. I put there's a mobile game that I have, which I haven't played in like 2 years, but before that I put like 200 hours into it or more.
Yeah. I've got more than 200 hours into Toy Blast.
Yeah. And I
I
have
actually,
a lot of other games that I have a lot more than $200. But that's a whole
not
story.
dollars, hours.
That too.
I haven't put any money into Toy Blast.
Yeah, I know. I was referring to other games, but that's fine.
Yes.
Don't play those anymore either.
So I am currently, the way they've got it set up, Toy Blast, is they have their main levels. And then once you beat all the main levels, you go to the legendary circuit where you're trying to compete for prizes as to who can do the most random levels.
Right.
And so I'm at the end with 4,700 puzzles completed. And I am on stage 139 of the end game scenario. And then every 2 to 4 weeks, they release 10 or 20 more levels. I think it's 20. They release 20 more levels every 2 to 4 weeks. And then you go back up. I was at about 3,000 one time and had capped out. And I transferred to a new phone. I went from the Pixel 1 to the Pixel 3.
Yeah.
And for some reason, it didn't save my game.
Oh, yeah.
And so I had to start over from scratch. And I went from level 1 to the max level at the time in less than a week.
That's a bit. So that same thing where I transferred phones and lost my data, that happened to me when I transferred from the phone that I first bought. What's it even called? I think it's called Robo Defender or something like that. It's an old it isn't wow, people just call me at weird times. It is an old phone game. A second, I got a text from my pastor a while back. All right. It's probably getting close to 10 years at this point because I got it on my first smartphone, which was 4 phones ago or something like that, 3 or 4 phones. But it was solid, and I played. It was good when I got it, and then they introduced a mode to it called Combat Simulator or something, and it's just this blacked out stage, but it has like little obstacles and stuff like that. And it's just a straight up tower defense game. But the more
I love tower defense.
Yeah, and I just dedicated weeks of my weeks of my life to getting farther and farther and farther. And so what I did is like every time I got 100% on the stage, I would advance to the next not next stage. Every time I got 100% on a level of difficulty, I would go to the next stage of the combat simulator, because there are almost infinite numbers of VR training levels, almost practically infinite numbers. And so I went from level 0 to level like 270 something before I transferred phones. And when I transferred phones, lost my data, lost interest in the game, because I'm like, I don't want to go back through the 3 to 9 weeks, whatever it was, of playing this game to get up that far. And so it's like something, if I get bored, I have a half an hour and there's nothing else to do, I'll just throw it in there and be like, okay, I'll just play this. But that hasn't happened in a long time. I probably should just delete it at this point. I have gotten my $5 out of it, I'm quite sure.
Yeah. Where's I going with all of that talk? But yeah, so the other than mobile games, the 2 times that I play games is 1 if I'm streaming, or 2 if I'm playing with friends.
Yes.
I don't play games by myself except for mobile games, because I just don't like to. I like the social aspect of games, even though I don't like to be social in real life.
I really, really like the story in games, and I've put like hundreds of hours into story-based games, which are single player, of course. But after a while, it just became really difficult for me to play them, because I did get involved in the social aspect of gaming. And if I'm playing a game, I'm like, well, should I just be playing this game for the story, or should I actually be like, interacting with other people? It's not that other people are the most important thing, but man, if I don't play this or talk with so and so, or I feel bad because I feel like I'm abandoning them, and I already know that I'm a high level introvert, and giving into those baser instincts is not necessarily the best way to go forward in terms of maintaining proper relationships. Man, I don't know what I'm supposed to do here, so I just say, okay, well, I'll play that tomorrow, and I'd go back and I'd play a multiplayer game with whoever was available. And then all my friends who I was playing with at the time stopped playing, and I was alone by myself, and then I wasn't again. And then I just decided to be a total introvert and not play anything. So, that's how it goes, right?
Oh, yeah. So, like, when I was streaming Force Awakens, if you were there, if you were there.
Wait, you were streaming The Force Awakens? The movie?
No, not Force Awakens.
Fallen Order.
Fallen Order. The more interaction I have in chat, the longer I play. Mm-hmm. So I tried to play Fallen Order, and then I would get stuck on something, and nobody would be in chat with me to help me, suffer through it. So I would just stop for the day. And some of my streams were only like an hour and a half, because nobody was in my stream. So the social aspect of it was not there.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that, not that Minecraft has been killed for me, but that's one of the things that killed Minecraft for me. Like, it's like, I spent years wanting to play Minecraft and never had the technology to do so. Finally get the technology, like, dove into it, like, accomplished my goal. I dug a gigantic hole. That was the biggest thing I wanted to do. And then I'm like, okay, now I want to do more things, and then that file got corrupted, and I got kind of upset about that, and then I got on my game console, and that was it's okay. Finally got it on PC, and I had all these, again, human interactions. I'm like, oh, this is really fun. And then, 6 weeks down the line, everybody's off the server.
Yeah. Server die.
Mm-hmm. And then after a while, it's like, well, okay, I could go find another server to be on, but
I'm tired of restarting.
Yeah, and everybody is like, well, I want to restart it. I want to restart it. I want to restart it. I'm like, but why?
Yeah.
Oh,
I haven't finished my goal. Why do I want to restart?
And I think this comes down to like different mentalities on Minecraft, or really just gaming. No, I guess specifically Minecraft, because Minecraft is kind of its own thing. There are some folks who they play to beat the dragon. And then once the dragon is beaten, they're like, okay, well, I'm going to beat the dragon again. I'm going to do this. And they have like their list of machines that they know how to build. They're going to build those machines. And once those machines are built and everything's automated, then they're done.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but what if you did more? It's an open world with endless possibilities. I think that's one of the reasons why I never got into building machines, because it's like, well, okay, I could spend, 6 weeks, 6 months, whatever it is, perfecting how to build this machine. They can change the code, it's gone. Then I have to do it to start back over at square one. Or I could just work everything off the base mechanics of the game as they are and just build stuff that's interesting to me. And that to me actually seems like a lot more fun, which is one of those reasons why I still haven't done it yet, but I've flirted with the idea of just playing in peaceful, because I like the digging and I like the building.
I did do it.
I know. I think you were smart. I should have done it. I might have stuck with it longer this last time.
And then Monkey started his server up, and so I joined it. And then I got asked to be part of Ellie's server, so I joined it. And then playing on 2 different servers, it just wore me out. So I haven't really played.
Is Monkey's server still going?
Yeah, Monkey's server is still going strong.
How many times have they restarted?
They haven't since they did it.
I might have to do some investigation, see if I want to try it again. But I really, really, really just like, today was fun. Today was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed myself.
Yeah,
and
it helped having people there.
Yes.
To riff off of and
yeah,
and have a coordinated effort. Hey, we're over here. We're heading to B. We're heading to C.
That's that's one of the things that was kind of frustrating with me a couple months ago. Some of my Sunday school kids, like, this is before I switched churches, were like, hey, buy Modern Warfare, and let's play with this. I'm like, okay. So I bought Modern Warfare and I played with them, and I did it for about a month, maybe a little bit longer than that, and there was zero communication from them. They knew what they were doing and they were just doing it. And I'm like, hey, I was looting something in this house. Where'd you guys go? Oh, we're over here, like a half a mile away. And I'm like, well, I'll see you when I see you, kind of thing. I mean, it's not like there weren't fun times that came from that, but at a certain point, the proficiency with which they played surpassed my ability to comprehend what they were doing very quickly. And their willingness to communicate what they were trying to get done was not commensurate with my desire to be told what was going on. And and that kind of killed it really quick for me.
It's like the whole point of us being in a conversation together is so that we can communicate.
Yeah. Hey, just go to the thing over here. Over where? North, south, east, west, up, down? Are you in a helicopter? What's going on? Just tell me where you are. I don't really like. So I like, Micro was doing a great job. Just being like, okay, go here, do this.
Yeah.
And guys up here, and like actually giving useful information. Like, oh, the guys are over there, and like, over where? We're. Don't tell me over where.
Well,
just
it also helps that Battlefield or Battlefront has the system where it's like, okay, these are the markers, and you can be like, okay, hey, we're over at A, we're taking over B now.
At least with the game mode that we were playing on, there's a couple other ones that do it differently, which are also fun, but they just do it a little differently, and it might be a little bit more. With that particular game mode, it's really effective to be like, okay, where the areas of need are. So even in moments where maybe communication lags, you can still go, we don't have anybody at C and it's being taken right now. We should send somebody over there. And if there's nobody else going, I guess it's me, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. The communication is so key, and it's something that just we have so many avenues to do it, and then we just don't.
Yep.
Oh man.
Well, Mr. Gabby, is there anything else you have on your mind?
I'm still working out. That's a good thing. I'm in pain.
No.
That's a bad thing.
That makes one of us.
I actually did more this week than I did the week before. I'm still not like doing what I was doing before. I'm still technically injured. And when I say technically injured, I mean I'm in constant pain. That's a whole other story. And I'm still working out. Let's make it happen. Because I'm just tired of being fat again. I was fat once. I don't ever want to be that again. And so I'm just like, nope, I have to do something. Also, Oswin was talking some smack to me for a couple weeks ago. So just in the event, he's like, let's do another push-up contest. I have to be at least in some level of shape. Can't have these young kids thinking they can put one over on us, even if they totally can. Oh, man.
Yeah.
I've
tried several times to start exercising and whatnot. And
mm-hmm.
My lungs are just like, nope, don't do that.
I also baked for the first time ever this week.
Really?
Yes. And I didn't kill anyone. Oh, brownies. I figured that was a good entry level sort of thing.
I love brownies.
I did not kill anyone with my brownies.
That's good.
Not even me. That was perhaps the most surprising.
Yeah, when I make brownies, the death isn't because of the bad cooking. It's because I ate too much of the good cooking.
They're not the best brownies I've ever had. They're like, I mean, unless you do something really wrong, it's hard to like mess up brownies, which is why I started with them. They were like, okay, so your average brownie starts out at like a 7, right? Just because it's chocolate and it's good. But in terms of like brownie scale, they were like a 6.5. And like in terms of other desserts, they're like, a 7, maybe an 8. But I mean, they weren't like great brownies, but they were good enough. I'm like, okay. And I got like the ones with like the chocolate chips in them because I like to have the little little nuggets, morsel surprise in there while I'm chewing them on. They're just beautiful.
Yep.
I figured out one thing I definitely have to do next time that I didn't do this time. I have to spray the pan first.
Oh my word. Oh, the classic blunder.
I definitely did not do that. So but cleanup actually wasn't that bad because I just spritzed some soap in the dish and then let it sit in water for like a day. And then it was fine.
My word.
We have fun, don't we, Masters?
My goodness.
Hey, wrong.
Classic. That's a classic mistake.
Mm-hmm.
I learned it at age 9, but I mean,
hey, we all started.
Okay too.
We all started different points in life.
I learned at age 13. No, I was probably 15 or 16. I learned then that even though your 3 cheese baked tzatziki doesn't say that you need to cook the noodles first, you need to cook the noodles first.
Okay, I don't think I'd have messed that one up. That one's pretty obvious to me. But
Hey, I followed the instructions to the T. They did not specify that you needed to cook the noodles first.
uh-huh. I have a friend who made a lasagna like that. It was
Of course, I
it was
really can't. I can't. I don't can't believe I'm going to tell you this story.
oh dear.
Actually, you may have heard this story when we were at Disney World because my family loves to tell it.
Okay.
So me and my ex-wife were going to have some friends from church over.
Okay.
Um, and so I cooked dinner because my ex-wife can't cook. Um, so I cooked dinner. I
Now,
cooked
I do want just one clarification, not to interrupt your story. Is it that she can't cook or that she shouldn't cook? Because can't can be applied to both of those and be equally accurate in both scenarios, but can't and shouldn't are not necessarily the same. I just want clarification.
both.
Gotcha.
Um, so and I'll get into this story leads into another story
Okay.
involving her. So I cook meatloaf, and my plan is to cook um, uh, um, mashed potatoes with fresh potatoes instead of using the instant potatoes.
Uh-huh.
And so I spent about 45 minutes trying to mash the potatoes, and nothing was working. Um,
Oh, Lord.
my potato masher wasn't working, and I couldn't figure out why.
I think I know the
So I stuck
problem.
them in the blender. They
Uh-huh.
weren't working. So I stuck them in a purator. Wasn't working. So it turns out you've got to cook the potatoes first before you mash them.
How did I know this is exactly where this is going?
Yeah. Um, so
Oh
yeah. So
man.
that was an interesting tale
Oh,
that my family loves to tell people.
that was like when I
Um,
so that's like when I was trying to make breakfast fried rice, which is a great concept. It is. It really is. There's just one little issue you have to because I was trying to put some hash browns in there too. Give it a little bit of extra. This is when my roommate was still here, so I was trying to make it extend a little bit farther. Potatoes are cheap, man. So
yeah.
I discovered that in order for hash browns to be properly hash browns, you do first have to fry them,
Yeah.
and like separately from the rest of the stuff that you're frying.
Yep.
I didn't do that, and so I just had
Mhm.
like a potato paste through the midst of my fried rice. Not my proudest moment. Like it.
Okay. So
Yeah, go ahead.
go ahead.
Nope. I was just saying, good concept. Execution
Bad
was,
execution.
yeah, bad execution.
So that
Also,
story leads into another one.
mm-hmm,
When me and my ex-wife first got married, we lived actually right down the road from where I live now,
mm-hmm,
and I worked less than 2 minutes away at a Harbor Freight, um, and so we have no money, so we cooked everything. We didn't order food or anything like that. So we got the bright idea. Hey, if you will cook dinner for me, I will leave on my break, come home and eat, and then I'll just go back to work instead of me starving and eating afterwards or whatever. And
uh-huh.
so she was going to cook me. I don't remember what the main thing that she cooked me was, but I asked her if she would cook me some boiled potatoes
Okay.
because I love boiled potatoes. So I get home and she has my plate prepared, and there is a whole potato sitting on my plate. And I said, I asked for a boiled potato. It's like, I'll eat it however you cooked it, but this isn't boiled. And she
Uh-huh.
was like, yeah, I boiled it. I was like, you what? She was like, yeah, I boiled it. You boiled a whole potato. Yeah, the potato was not cooked
No.
at all.
No.
Oh my goodness. That was another good one.
Oh man. That I mean, we've kind of had this conversation. I'm quite sure I've referenced this before, but do you remember the story I told you well, the story about the article that I read, of the guy and his wife who got married and they hadn't had sex before marriage, and they're like, well, if we didn't have sex before marriage, it should be even better if we don't have sex during marriage.
Wait, what?
Okay, I didn't tell you this one. I told this to somebody else. All right. So it's an article I read years ago. It's been over a decade. There's this guy and his wife, and they are dating, and they're good Christian folk, and so they decide not to have sex before marriage, which is a decision which I 100% agree with and endorse. You should not have sex before marriage. They get married, and they go, well, we haven't had sex yet. If it was such a holy and righteous thing for us not to have sex before marriage, it should be a holy and righteous thing for us not to have sex after marriage, too, which is a wholly unbiblical concept, but that's a whole other story. We'll get into that another time. So they set out on their married life without ever consummating. And they were married for like a number of years. And someone found out about this, how I don't know, and decided to do an interview with this couple. And in the interview, they're talking about some of their techniques for avoiding the mood. They're like, oh yeah, we really really love each other, and we'll kiss, and we'll sit and we'll hold hands, we'll do this, but we're just not having sex. And he says, well, I mean, how, like, you're human, right? You have those urges. And she goes, yeah. Well, if I get the urges, I go and I take a cold shower, I do this or that and the other. And okay, well, he turns to the husband and he says, what do you do when you start to have bedroom thoughts? And he says, I go to the kitchen and I eat a whole raw potato. Yep, that'll do it. Good feeling is gone.
Oh.
Like, what would possess you to even think of that?
I don't know.
But like, yeah, just wow. Just wow. Some people, man. Oh, man. Some things, there are no words to properly convey or process what's going on in your mind. And that is just one of those. And like I said, it's an old story. I've heard it and been telling it for years. It's one of those things you just never quite forget or understand how to react to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On
that note, are we wrapping up, Masters?
I think so.
Alrighty. We've ranged all over the place. We complained about Disney Plus's release schedule. We talked about WandaVision. We talked about predictability in that. D&D campaigns, Star Wars, yada yada, who's a what's its giant noses, and cats. What more could you want?
And the Muppets.
And the Muppets. And the Muppets, yes.
They're called creatures now.
Did you see that, real quick, did you see that somebody actually penned like 147-page script for The Muppets Great Gatsby?
No.
They did, and they released it on the internet. I have not read all of it. I've read a couple snippets.
Alrighty then.
Mm-hmm. They want Tom Holland to play the main character. Not Gatsby, that's obviously Kermit, but they want Tom Holland to play like the guy who is the friend of Gatsby. Old Sport, as it were. I forget what his actual name is. But yeah, they're like, okay, I could see that.
I've never seen The Great Gatsby.
Have you ever read the book?
I haven't read the book either.
You should see the movie. I mean, the book is fantastic and yada yada, but I mean, just in terms of digestibility, you see the movie. I'm not a big Tobey Maguire fan, but everyone else in that movie is pretty good. And I guess Tobey Maguire is good as well. I just have a personal bias against him, which I have no rational explanation for. I just don't like him.
Who?
Tobey Maguire.
Oh, it's probably that one scene in Spider-Man 3.
No, because I didn't like him in Spider-Man 1.
Well, I can't help you there.
I mean, the scene in Spider-Man 3 is horrific, and that doesn't help me in any way, shape, or form to like him. But that is not the straw that broke the camel's back. I had issues with him in Spider-Man 1 and then Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2, I had less issues with him because Spider-Man 2 is just a brilliant movie. It's great. But yeah. He is just not ever going to be my favorite actor. Or even in my top 100.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So do you feel about Tobey Maguire the way I feel about Will Ferrell?
Probably. But I mean, maybe not, because you actually seem to have some sort of like legitimate complaints about Will Ferrell. I have zero legitimate complaints about Tobey Maguire. I just don't like him.
Okay then. Well,
like, it's totally irrational. I have zero reason to dislike him. I just don't like him.
So you feel the same way about Tobey Maguire as I do Ninja Wolf?
Whoever that is, sure.
He's a streamer that Monkey and Kuya have been or were hanging out with. Now Monkey still hangs out with him. And I don't dislike the guy, but like I don't like him. I don't know what it is, but I can't anytime he's around, I'm not there.
That's fair. I mean, strangely enough,
I don't know why.
But by the numbers, you're only at best you're only going to like 3 out of every 4 people you meet. There's just something about 25% of people that, based on your personal makeup, you're only going to be able to get along properly with 75% of the people. That's how it goes. And there's just 25% of people you're in the room, you're like, man, I have to be here, and they're here too. Joyous.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. There's nothing wrong with you, Masters. Okay, that's not true. That's not one of the things that's wrong with you, Masters.
Acceptable.
More accurate. Alrighty. Let's try this again. Anything else to add in here, Mr. Masters?
I got nothing.
Alrighty. Well, thank you everyone for watching. We have appreciated your kind attentiveness, patronage, listening in, commenting, responding, being just Sasquatch that you are. I'm assuming there might be somebody else at this point, but Sasquatch, we know you're here. We appreciate you. As always. If you all have enjoyed this, or if just some of you have enjoyed this and you haven't talked to the rest of people to form a committee on your own, we would highly recommend that you try to leave a like below or subscribe to the feed, the channel, whatever it is that you're watching or listening to this on. Also, feel free, not just feel free, feel obligated to share this podcast with friends, families, neighbors, enemies, rough acquaintances, and that weird guy down the street that you don't really want to know. And that will eventually help us maybe to grow our audience and reach more people with the world's worst possible alternative to any kind of anything which might be considered to be entertaining, because clearly this is not that. And thank you all again for watching. We will see you all next time. Goodbye.